Hi there, this is Naba. I work for Ananda Web Services, and this video is an introduction to how to use Asana and how we use Asana. What is Asana? Asana is a task management platform. It's kind of like a super duper advanced to-do list. You know, the kind of piece of paper you write down, okay, today I have to do this, and I have to do, get milk at the grocery store, and I have to remember to email my boss, all that kind of stuff. Asana can take all those things, bring them together in one place, and also give you the power to have added information to them. You can add attachments. You can share them with multiple people, and everyone can contribute and see what the progress is happening on a particular task or a collection of tasks. So I'm going to give you a walkthrough, and first I'm going to start with very basic setup. We're going to cover simple task management. We're going to cover team cooperation and coordination and collaboration. We'll go over that. We will talk about how to control your account, and then we'll get into a few bigger picture things like managing projects. Not everything can be covered in this video. Some things that are covered in other videos are how to use Asana for completely different purposes other than task management, and other topics, and I'll tell you what those are at the end of the video, and so you can go on and watch other videos and do great things. So I'm going to log in here. Asana is completely cross-platform. You don't have to have a Mac like I do. You can use a iPhone, you can use a PC, you can use anything. Asana does have an app. So this is the first time I'm logging into Asana with this account, and this video is good. I'm just going to skip it and say get to work so I can do that, and I'll just get started right away. It's wanting me to create a project. I'm just going to skip this so I can show you the basic task management part of Asana. So even if you only use Asana just for yourself, I think it's a great thing, and it really it's helped me stay organized. It's what they looked at is they said when they created Asana, the folks who did so, they came from Facebook actually, and they had created Facebook's internal task management system, and they said. And then they left and they created this company, and they said, well, to get people to use this, obviously it's only going to be successful if people use it, and to get people to use it, we need to create something that will be faster and more usable than a piece of paper or than the notepad program on their computer, where you just type things in. So adding a task is very simple. I'll show you how that works. I clicked on add a task, and I'm just going to type something in. So I'll use the example I had before. Email my boss. All I'm doing is typing in the basic subject of a task and hitting enter. And every time I hit enter, it creates a new one. So it's around Christmas time when I'm recording this, so I'd say get, Christmas tree, all these types of things. So that's kind of silly, but there you are. Wish happy Hanukkah. How do you spell Hanukkah? I'm sorry, that's not the right spelling. And I could just obviously keep going on and on here. If I wanted to put in more information about something, then I click on this little arrow over here. And for everything you do in Asana, there's a keyboard shortcut. Some of them are down at the bottom here. For the most part, I'm going to skip over those. But if you're using Asana, I highly, highly recommend that you look into that. So here, I clicked on the side, and bam, there's all this extra information. So here I could add extra notes like 2% milk, it has to be, or the brand. Email my boss, this is perfect. I would just say, make some notes about what I want to email him or her about. Talk, or let's see, ask for Christmas tree decoration, because that's an important, thing that everybody has to buy into. So, and I could just go on and on there. Okay, so let's say that I went and I got milk from the market. That's great. I can hide this by clicking this same button I clicked before, and it goes away. So, okay, milk has been got from the market, and all of a sudden, we now have two different groups here. We have this sort of finished area, it's a little bit grayed out, and we have these upcoming things. So what does upcoming mean here? Well, there's this methodology that was clarified by David Allen, who is the author of Getting Things Done, book written not all that long ago, that has a really nice, clear, simple way of organizing your tasks. And what you do, basically, I'm simplifying it, I recommend Getting Things Done if you're interested in this type of thing, or just want to be more productive. He said, well, separate your tasks into 3 different groups. You're going to have stuff that you want to do. When you have a list, I'll back up. When you have a list of 4 tasks, like now we have, it doesn't really matter how you organize them. They're so simple, you can just look at them all right away and there's no problem. It's when you get to a task list of many different things, or 100 or 200, and that's common for someone who's working in an office, has people asking them to do things, or has to track and make sure that other people are doing things for them. 150 is kind of normal. Once you get above 20, just having everything in one bucket starts to get unwieldy. So he says what you should do is separate your tasks out into 3 basic groups. You have things you're doing today or that you want to do today. You have an upcoming group. He calls it next. In Asana, they call it upcoming. And those are the things you'll get to after you do the things that you're doing today. And then there's a someday/later category in Asana. They call that later. And those are things that you don't want to forget about, but you hope to get to at some point. It's nice having that group and using it because you know that it's there, and if you know that it's there, you don't have to keep thinking about it. As long as you have some kind of process set up where you're going to look at that later, maybe every week, you look at it and just make sure that, yeah, it does, I can't do it yet, it needs to stay in later, but I'm not forgetting about it. So that's something that David Allen calls the weekly review, and I'm not going to cover that in this, but it is covered in the book. So let's say that emailing my boss, that's something that needs to be done today. So here I clicked and expanded this. Most of the time when I'm using this Asana, this area just stays expanded, and I'm going to click on today. And you see this new area has been created, and these other ones are an upcoming. And let's say that get Christmas tree, or reminding my neighbor, let's see, get Christmas tree, that's today. That's okay to have this upcoming, and wishing Happy Hanukkah. I need to learn how to spell that and everything, and my coworker's on vacation anyway, so I'm going to say later. And laters are automatically hidden. If I want to see what's there, I can click later, and it's down here. And I can click this again to collapse that and get rid of it if I want to. So, okay, so, let's say I've emailed my boss. That's great. And now I have let's say I want a new task here, like, email Cindy. And then when I'm typing this, I realize, oh wait, this isn't necessary. I want to delete it. There's different ways to delete it, but there are these, like there's a keyboard shortcut. It says down here I can hold down the tab key and hit backspace. That would delete it. I'm going to try not to use keyboard shortcuts because it's easier to follow this without that. But I go to task actions over here. So I have this selected. I can tell that it's selected because of this blue bar here. And I click over here and I say delete task. It's gone. And it gives me an option to undo it if I want to. Maybe I made a mistake and it's back. But no, I actually do want to delete it. So, and in Asana currently, as I record this in late 2012, there's only one undo. So if I go ahead and delete another task, let's say I decide I don't want this one, I'm going to delete this too. I can undo this and get it back, but the one about emailing Cindy, now that's gone forever. There's no hope for that. In the future, they're thinking about adding multiple levels of undo to make that possible. So, okay, well, so far so good. It'd be incredibly easy just to create all of the tasks of different things I have to do. But then there's just one more thing that I want to add here about creating tasks, and that's something called headings. So let's say that I have a group of tasks that I want to organize, and it's pretty simple. So let's say, I have to email a bunch of people. Oops. I find that Asana sometimes doesn't keep up with my typing speed sometimes. Okay. Like that. I'm going to make email. Ta-da! Now they're organized into this group. Nothing really has happened except that I've just put this little special heading on top of that. And how did that happen? All I did was add a colon to the end of a regular task. And Asana was like, whoa, that's a heading, because you added a colon at the end, and it made it into this small font and bold and everything. The only benefit from that is that now we get to look at this and see, oh, okay, these go in a group. It's a visual thing. So let's say I had a bunch of tasks that had to do with Christmas tree stuff. Like, now you see how I did that? I created a task above this one by moving the mouse cursor to the beginning of it and hitting enter, and it created a new task. If I want to create a task after it, I go to the end and hit enter, but that's just it's a little trick. So I want to buy Christmas lights, and I want to make sure to, after we get the tree and bring it home, I want to vacuum. Oops. Vacuum. Get rid of this V. There we go. It's probably because I'm recording this that things are slower than they normally are. Anyway, so this task I don't want anymore. I'm just going to hit the delete button and it'll go away. That's the blank task. So then I want to create a heading for these, and I say, Christmas trees or Christmas tree related. Since this is kind of most people will be using this for their office, at least certainly can't use it for home. I'll pretend that I'm bringing the tree into the office. So, answer phone call, that might be something I would put in here. Now, answer phone call doesn't really belong under the Christmas tree heading. So what I'm going to do, you see how when I move my mouse over this little grippy area, it's supposed to represent grips like you have on one of those things that you use when you're gardening, like a trowel or something. So this is grippy. I'm going to hold down my mouse button, and then I can drag it. I can drag it anywhere I want to. I'm going to drag it up above this heading. I could also drag it all the way down to upcoming. I don't want to answer my phone right now because I'm recording something. So there's that. Oops. There we go. I'm trying to put my phone on call forwarding. Okay, so that's all the things with basic task management in Asana, and you could go and knock yourself out and have a great time with just using this completely for yourself. But where Asana really shines, and the reason that we use it as part of Ananda Web Services, is that it makes it, it brings all the information about a task together in one place, and it brings all of the complete task list relating to a project together in one place. So, for instance, if we're creating a new website, we actually have a template set up in Asana. It has about 150 tasks, things that you usually do when you're creating a new website. And whenever we're creating a new one, we create a copy of that complete task list, add things to it, remove things from it that are not appropriate, and then we can just go through that whole list and make sure that we're buttoning up everything like we need to, make sure that the site's going to be backed up, and that it's set up in the right way, and that the people who need to have the passwords have the passwords, and so on and so forth. And then the project manager, and actually anyone who has access to the complete project, can see how things are coming, and you can see, are the due dates that we set up for these different areas, are they being met? Does the design look like it's going to be finished on time? Well, you see, yeah, it's supposed to be finished by August 6th, and now it's mid-July, and we have the first draft finished, so we're still on target. You can do all of that. You can do that of course, with other programs too, but what's great about Asana is that it's so fast. You can do it in just a glance. All you have to do is scroll up and down here, and you can see these things in order and with headings and so on. So, okay, so all I've been looking at so far is my own, this account's personal task list. There's also, I'm going to cover next, ways that you can assign tasks to other people, ways that you can follow tasks, and that type of collaboration. So, okay, so let's pretend that my task list has now got to be, it's in the multiple hundreds, and I have to start giving things to other people. And, of course, I need to make sure that they're okay with that. I discovered in the early days of using Asana that unless you have, unless someone's already used to using Asana, just assigning things to them doesn't work, because it's an unfamiliar system. So it helps to also follow up and connect in phone or by email or in some way that they're already used to. Once you've got comfortable, once someone else has got comfortable working in Asana, then it's enough just to assign them something. As long as it's described well enough, then there's no problem. So for Get Christmas Tree, I would add some requirements, like it must be at least 6 feet tall. Oops, that just disappeared. There's I won't explain why it just disappeared, but it's only a problem it's likely to happen on my computer. It has to do with the keyboard shortcut I use, and the fact that I'm using Firefox to record this. Anyway, so I'll go back to this. Requirements: must be 6 feet tall at least. As bushy as possible, and let's see, any other requirements. Smells nice. So, and then I can say optional bonus, green. It should be green. So, now, okay, so I've written this ad, I want to give it to somebody else. I'm going to give it to Naba. And bingo, it disappeared. Notice it disappeared from my list. And it is going to appear on Naba's list of tasks. And he'll see it. I'll show you what it's going to be like in a moment for him, but he'll see it, he'll get a little notification, maybe an email. The default default setting, he'd get an email with this, and so he'd see that it's new, and he might add a comment or something. So, if there's other information, like the picture of a tree that might be good, I would attach it here. If there's a specific date that I need it by, I can add that. This is a useful way to communicate about timelines and things. So I'd say, okay, yeah, well, let's see, it's almost Christmas, so it'd be nice to have it, I think, on Sunday. And we'll say that. So, due date, Sunday. Great. So it's assigned to him. If, let's say that we still want to get updates from it. So when Naba comes in here and he adds something like a comment about it, you can add comments down underneath these. So I'll add in a comment about the due date. It would be nice to have it before Sunday, but that's the last day it would be useful. Hit tab, and I'm going to hit enter. It's a quicker way to comment than clicking the button. And he'll get a notification about that. Now, if he does anything to it, we want to get updated, and so that's why we want to make sure we're on this followers list. Automatically, we're on this followers list because we created it. This is this task. This is like being CC'd on an email. Every time someone makes a change, touches a file, does anything to it, except if they add things up here, we won't get an update. But other than that, as long as we're following it, we'll get an update. If we no longer want to follow it, this is an advantage that Asana has over email. We click the unfollow button, and bingo, we're totally done with that. And in fact, it's gone. We can't even. I don't know why it disappeared, but we can't see it anymore. We could search for it and bring it back, but I won't do that right now. So it's possible to add anybody to Asana that you want to. In fact, they don't even have to sign up for an account. If you want somebody to be able to monitor progress on something, so they, for instance, get an email when this is done, you can say, you can add them as a follower, and you can just make up, imaginary email address at gmail.com and invite them. And when you invite them, they'll get 2 emails, and I'll show you what that will look like. In fact, it looks like they get one email that's like this, and if you don't warn them about it, they'll be like, huh? Like, what's this? That's confusing. And they'll get another email like this, which has information about either the project that you've shared with them or the task that you've shared with them. And from then on, even if they don't do any signing up with Asana, they'll still get an email whenever something is updated with this. If they want to stop getting emails, then they can sign up and turn that off. So that's how that works. We will go now, because since we've been talking about email, I want to tell you how to turn email off. Because it can be, by default, Asana is going to send you emails in 2 situations. It's going to send you an email every day with a list of things that you're supposed to do today. So it assumes this is really literal and that, yes, you mean to do these today. Maybe every evening for the next day you make a list of the things you want to get done the day after. And so then this email comes and it reminds you, hey, here's the things you wanted to get done today. If this stays the same for several days, you'll still get an email each of those days. So you might want to turn that off. So the way to do that is you click down here. Ananda Web Service is the name of this account, but normally this would be your name. So for me, it would be Naba. And I'm gonna go back to my own account so you can see this in a more normal way. Asana usually takes a few seconds to load. Okay, so here's Naba, and I go into account settings, go to email messages, and this controls when I get emails. So I haven't talked about workspaces yet. I'll get to that in another video. But workspaces are basically, they're kind of like completely separate, compartmentalized groups of projects and tasks. So my personal projects and the things I do at work don't really overlap. So they're two separate workspaces. If someone has access to Ananda Web Services, they don't have access to my personal projects because they're totally separate. So I could add them if I wanted to, but there's nothing that happens automatically about that. If I don't add anyone, they're totally private. Okay, so Ananda Web Services, I have unchecked the reminders. I don't want to get the emails every day from Asana telling me what needs to happen, because every day I actually log into the Asana website to check what's happening. Activity, those are the emails when someone comments on something that I'm following, and these, I do have them turned on. You don't have to have them on. If you don't have them on, Asana still has this something called the inbox, and the inbox is, let's see if I can get this to, the inbox is it's just a list of everything that you're following and what's changed on it, and it's actually really nice. I'll show you an example of what that looks like. So this is a completed task. There's some comments on it from Cindy. This is the Buy Christmas Lights task. It was assigned to me, and I haven't put it in today or upcoming or later. Here's the notes, and I can be like, sorry, I don't have time. Comment. Find someone else. This is a perfectly reasonable thing to say. And then I can assign it back if I wanted to. Okay. Now, you notice I want to point this out. Ananda Web Services has this globe. It means that account only, the globe means that they're a guest. So you remember how I talked about adding someone imaginary email. That's spelled wrong, that's okay. If I can say invite, and then type in a name, I can add them to Ananda Web Services. That means they get access to the whole workspace, all of the projects, and all of the tasks. If I only want them to be associated with one project, and that's what we in Ananda Web Services do when, let's say, we have a client or a contractor who's only working really on one project or only needs access to one or two projects. We mark them as a guest, and that way they will only have access to that those limited things. So, okay, so now we've covered basic task management. We've covered how to assign things to other people, how to follow things, so now that I'm removing myself from this, I don't want to be a follower anymore. Because I've assigned Ananda Web Services to it, now they're a follower again, and we could, if we wanted to, we could go back and log in as that account, and we'd see it again in the My Tasks list for that account. Asana happens to crash a fair amount, and that's what that is. All you have to do is click reload, and it'll come back in a few seconds. It's just in a phase of development where that type of thing is happening. So the last things I want to talk about are bigger picture stuff when you're working in a team and a group environment. There's three things. There's other people that you're working with. There's tags. You can add tags. So for example, if I want to be able to sort everything by the context I have to do it in, like this is a phone call, or maybe it's Skype, but I would just say phone. And then I can, now that I've tagged that, I can see everything. I'm going to say, well, Nikula is the manager of the Ananda Mars, so I want to make a phone call to him too. Then I'm sitting at my phone, and I just want to go through all the phone calls. I just can click on filter up here and say phone, and it shows all of the things that are tagged phone. Okay, and when I'm done with that, I can click Show All, and it shows the complete list again. Tags, I use them for email. I use them for different types of tasks. And I use them also to mark whether things are high priority, low priority. The one thing we didn't cover, which I'll get to in a moment, is projects. But you can see in this project, there's I created a high priority heading. You remember how when you add a colon at the end of a task, it turns into a heading. But if I assign this to somebody, and it shows up in their own list of tasks, if they don't go into the project and look at it, they're not gonna know that it's been given this heading. So that's why I would add, I'd add another tag here, click on the plus sign, and say, yeah, this is high priority. Now, what if there's like 10 of these? I don't want to have to go into every one and mark it individually as high priority. So I'm going to select them both. And the way you do that is you click on the first one, hold down Shift, click on the last one in the list, and then it has two. You can see two tasks selected. You can do anything to them that you want to be the same. You can add them to the same project, you can give them the same due date. I'm going to add the high priority task to both of them. And bingo, now they all have that. If I only wanted to see high priority tasks, I would click up here. The last thing I'm going to talk about is projects. And what we're looking at here is a project. It's not my personal list of tasks like we were originally looking at when I created the different Christmas tree tasks and other random things. I created this by clicking on this plus sign here. And if you're using Asana at some point in the future, beyond 2012, they may have changed this interface a little bit, but probably not too much. It should be pretty straightforward. So I clicked the plus sign, and I'll just show you what that looks like. It says New Project. It's like a blank area to create new tasks in. I want to go back. And it adds it to the list of projects that you have. Now these are all the projects for Ananda Web Services, and there's a lot of them. There's probably 20 or 30. This one right here is being shared with Naba, and I can add somebody else to it. Let's say I want to share on the other account that we were working with and give them access to it. Now they have access to it. If I add them as a follower, they'll get an email or a notification whenever a new task is added to it, or they'll be able to see when tasks are completed also. Project is anything you have that's going to require multiple steps or many steps. You need to be able to see it in a list like this. It's very helpful to create a project for it. So, as an example, my wife and I are planning our wedding. Don't ask how we're already married and we're planning our wedding, but that's how it is, how it's turned out. And we have it separated into planning the honeymoon. That's one project. Another project is the actual wedding itself. Another project is the brunch that we're having before the wedding, on the day of the wedding. So all of those, of course, have their own tasks and their own associated things. You can add descriptions for a project up here. In our case, a web service company, we usually have information about who are the contact people, who's the person in charge. So we have, for example, project manager, and then their name and phone number and email address. So if someone else comes in, needs to contact them, they'll know who to go to. We also have client contact and information. We have other information in here too, like the amount that we're charging, a link to the Google document that has sort of an overview of the project, have a description of the project. It's creating a new website for a colony on Mars, for example. And that's all in there. And that's it just appears up here, and if you click on there, there's too much, it'll show you more. See how that works? So I click off here. It hides anything beyond a few lines. And I click there and it shows it again. Okay, so these two things, they're bin checked if I want to get them to disappear. Normally in a project, it's the job of the project manager to review these and then hide them. The way you hide them is by clicking this archive button and saying archive completed tasks. If you want to see them again, you click show archive tasks. Now as you complete tasks, you'll get a buildup of these in your own list. That's what I see when I click on my tasks over here. You can do the same thing with your own tasks. You say archive and it hides them. It won't hide them for the project manager in the project view, so feel free to always archive whenever you want to your own tasks. And that could be at the end of the day. You might want to do it just as you're working. You might want to wait the whole week just to see what it is that you've completed if you have to give, let's say, a weekly report to somebody. So that's all that we're going to cover today. Please do feel free to get in touch. Email me if you have any questions. And the other things that we'll cover in other videos are workspaces. That's what I mentioned before when there's these different completely separate areas of projects and tasks. Those are called workspaces, and you get to them by clicking right up there. See personal projects and onto web services. We'll also cover in some other video, actually Asana's covered this themselves. You can go down to help videos. Those videos are really good and they're really short. A couple of them cover storing other information in Asana, like turning Asana into a customer relations management system where each task, instead of really being a task, it's a person or a company, and you store the information for that company up here. You assign it to somebody if they have to get in touch with that person. It's kind of neat, actually. There's also something called subtasks. We have a separate video about that. Subtasks are when, like right here, set up site. There's this thing, get domain on bulk register. That's part of setting up the site. Install new site in our web host, WP Engine. So you can see that inside this task, there's actually more tasks, and even inside these tasks, you can put more tasks. It just goes for several steps if you want it to. The way that you create those is by clicking on the subtasks button, but I won't cover that anymore now. The last thing, two more things, that we'll cover in other videos are email integration. You can create tasks just by sending to a certain email address. It can be sometimes a lot faster than opening Asana in a web browser and creating them. Works really well, for example, for mobile phones. And also important to cover at a future date, we'll cover high efficiency management techniques for tasks. Like, how do you use this system in a way that is easy and fun and really helps you get a lot more done in a lot less time, which is the whole point. The mission of Asana is, they say, if we can just help the world be 5% more efficient, think of all the new great things that people will be able to do. Think of what we'll be able to accomplish with that extra time and with that clearer energy. So thanks for watching this. Get in touch with me if you need to, and talk to you later. That's the phone.